Welcome back, my friends. The news today is that Berkshire Hathaway has cut its Apple investment by about 13%. Buffett hints that it's for tax reasons. Tim Cook said iPhone sales grew in China, despite external research showing a decline. The discrepancy may be due to different methods of calculating revenue used by Apple and analysts. China accounted for 18% of Apple's sales, making it a critical market for the tech giant. But before we get into all of that, I would like to thank everyone who views my videos. If you would like to support the channel, please see the link to buy me a coffee in the video description below. And please hit the like button and leave me a comment below. I would love to hear from you. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you are notified of upcoming videos when they are released. Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway cut its gigantic Apple stake in the first quarter as the Oracle of Omaha continued to downsize his one-time favorite bet. In its first quarter earnings report released Saturday, Berkshire Hathaway reported that its Apple bet was worth $135.4 billion, implying around 790 million shares. That would mark a decline of around 13% in the stake. Apple was still Berkshire's biggest holding by far at the end of the quarter. This is the second quarter in a row that the Omaha-based conglomerate has trimmed the stake in the iPhone maker. It sold about 10 million Apple shares, just 1% of its massive stake, in the fourth quarter. This filing, when accounting for the change in Apple's stock price, would imply Berkshire sold about 116 million shares. Buffett, while answering shareholder questions at Berkshire's annual meeting in Omaha, suggested that the sale was for tax reasons following sizable gains. He also implied the sale could be tied to him wanting to avoid a higher tax bill down the road if rates go higher to fund a ballooning U.S. fiscal deficit. It doesn't bother me in the least to write that check, and I would really hope with all that America's done for all of you, it shouldn't bother you that we do it. And if I'm doing it at 21% this year, and we're doing it a little higher percentage later on, I don't think you'll actually mind the fact that we sold a little Apple this year, Buffett said at the meeting. Buffett became a big fan of Apple after one of his investing managers, Ted Weschler or Todd Combs, convinced him to buy the stock years ago. Buffett even called the tech giant his second most important business after Berkshire's cluster of insurers. Many had speculated that the 93-year-old investing icon reduced his favorite stake due to valuation concerns. Apple's stock gained a whopping 48% in 2023 as mega-cap tech shares led the market rally. At its peak, Apple ballooned in Berkshire's equity portfolio, taking up 50% of it. The shares are trading at more than 27 times forward earnings. But Buffett at the meeting continued to praise Apple, saying it was extremely likely that Apple will remain Berkshire's largest holding at the end of 2024. Shares of the iPhone maker got a big boost in the past week after the firm announced that its board had authorized $110 billion in share repurchases, the largest in company history. However, Apple posted a decline in overall sales and in iPhone sales. The shares are down more than 4% so far this year, amid concerns about how it will revive growth. Even with the sale, Berkshire is still Apple's largest shareholder outside of exchange-traded fund providers. Apple sales have fallen in almost every market across the globe, according to the latest results from the tech giant. The company said that demand for its smartphones dropped by more than 10% in the first 3 months of this year, while overall sales fell in every geographic region except for Europe. Apple said that overall, revenues across the company declined by 4% to $90.08 billion, 72.5 billion, which was the biggest drop for more than a year. Nevertheless, the results were not as bad as expected, and Apple's share price rose in after-hours trading in New York. The company said the figures were distorted by COVID-related supply disruptions, which led to unusually strong sales during the same period last year. It said it expected sales to return to growth in the months ahead, noting upcoming product launches and investments in artificial intelligence, AI. Overall sales in the critical Greater China market dropped by 8%. Mr. Cook attempted to reassure investors about the state of the business in the world's second-largest economy, noting that iPhone sales were actually up in mainland China. "I maintain a great view of China in the long term," he said. Competition in that market has been intensifying from local rivals such Huawei. Gil Luria, senior software analyst at D.A. Davidson, said companies such as Huawei do well in China because it is the homegrown brand. But in terms of features, functionality, and prestige, iPhone still has an advantage over any other handset, he told the BBC's Today program. So anytime consumers get the choice and have the resources, they're going to buy an iPhone. That's not any different in China. Struggles at the company, which has endured a streak of sales declines for 5 of the last 6 quarters, marked a contrast with the wider market. Globally, smartphone shipments rose 10% in the first 3 months of the year, expanding after a long lackluster period according to research firm Canalys. Mr. Luria said that for Apple there hasn't been significant improvements to the handset since the iPhone 12 was launched almost 4 years ago, when Apple introduced 5G connectivity, which compelled a lot of consumers to upgrade the phone. He added, "What they're hoping for now is that they can introduce enough new AI features into the iPhone 16, which will come out later this year, in order to finally drive a big iPhone upgrade cycle." Are iPhone sales growing or shrinking in China? That depends on which data points you look at, says an analyst. Apple told investors on Friday that iPhone sales grew in China in the first 3 months of the year, a surprise to analysts who had dissected industry reports in recent months that appeared to show the opposite. The difference may stem from how Apple and external analysts calculate revenue. We still saw growth on iPhone in some markets, including mainland China, CEO Tim Cook said on Apple's Friday earnings call. The company's revenue for Greater China, which includes Hong Kong and Taiwan, declined 8% in the quarter year-over-year to $16.4 billion. Cook, citing data company Kantar, said the two best-selling smartphones in urban China during the quarter were the iPhone 15 and iPhone 15 Pro Max. However, over the last quarter, independent analysts have reported a slump in overall iPhone sales in China. For the quarter that ended on March 31st, Counterpoint Research reported a 19% year-on-year decline in iPhone sales in China, and the International Data Corporation found that iPhone shipments fell nearly 10% for the region during the same period. iPhone sales in China are a closely watched metric, because Greater China accounted for 18% of Apple's sales across products in the first quarter, according to the earnings results. Across regions, sales of the smartphone made up over half of the tech giant's net sales, dwarfing contributions from the Mac, iPad, and wearables. The simple question is, when we look at the data points that have been repeatedly reported throughout the course of this quarter. I'm curious, Tim, what are we missing? Asked Wells Fargo analyst Aaron Rakers. Cook declined to comment on third-party data points on the call. Analysts at the research firms said the difference comes from how analysts and Apple calculate revenue. In the first quarter, we tracked a year-on-year decline in total value generated by iPhones in China. IDC analyst Will Wong told Bloomberg after Apple's results. The average selling price plays a key role in explaining the difference. IDC counted the prices customers paid, while Apple likely uses another price level, such as factory price, in its financial reporting, Wong said. The discrepancy may also come from newer and more expensive models making up a bigger portion of purchases, which could drive up revenue, even if total unit sales declined. I don't know how each and every quarter goes and each and every week, Cook said on Friday's call. But over the long haul, I have a very positive viewpoint. But what do you think? Please hit the like button and leave us a comment below. We would love to hear from you. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you are notified of upcoming videos when they are released. Please share this video on social media. And before we end, a word from the sponsor of this video. Today's sponsor is ProWorldNet.com. ProWorldNet.com is a job website specifically dedicated to licensed professions. Doctors, including any type of specialty, nurses, and that includes all grades of nurses, lawyers, regardless of area of legal focus, teachers and professors, from kindergarten through graduate school, as well as any kind of job that requires a government license or certification. And ProWorldNet.com also includes short-term gig-type jobs as well. So be sure to check out ProWorldNet.com if you are looking for a job or an employee. Thank you for watching.